Okay, well, we're part of the way through the year 2014, and it's been about 4 years, I believe, since I've done a Quadrajet video. As far as rebuilding one and overhauling it and reassembling it. And last time I did that, I did my videos, several different videos, several different parts to it. And I've had people that kind of dislike that, and now that I've been making videos a while, I try not to do that anymore. I try to edit my videos together. So we're going to do this all in one edited together video, so you won't have to keep going between different segments and trying to keep in mind what you're looking at. So it should be a lot easier to follow along here. So that's what we're going to do. And I've had people also complain that I talk too much during my videos, but you know, here's the thing, I don't know American Sign Language, so there's, you know, even though all you see is my hands, I don't know how to convey what I'm trying to tell you with my hands, so you're going to have to hear me talk. Sorry for that, but anyway. Now, I think I'm going to title this video something along the lines of how to build a Quadrajet from a pile of parts. And as you can see, there's my pile of parts here. This is all the parts that assemble a Quadrajet, and minus the sandpaper, but this is all of them. So as you can see there, get a good look at that. Screws, you name it, we've got all there. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to lead you through this, so if you're a newbie at this, you don't get traumatized by taking this. You know, you can take it apart down. This video will show you how to put this thing back together from all these parts. So if you start out with a bare casting, there's nothing in this carburetor except the carburetor body itself. I'm going to show you exactly how to put this back together and how easy it is. And I'd like to also dedicate this video to 1963 Impala two-door. That's Ken. That's old Ken. Rat rodding with old Ken. We're trying to talk Ken back from the edge of slapping. Yeah, that's what I call it. Slapping on an Edelbrock on one of his projects. We hope we can talk him out of that. He feels a little traumatized by working on Quadrajets, I think, but I think he's got a 72 model hearse with a Cadillac 472, uses a nice old style Quadrajet, and I say nice because they're not really any better than these later models, but they're a little bit more simplified, so that's a good thing for those who don't like complicated carburetors. More complicated carburetors. But Ken was saying a few things about it. That car wasn't running exactly right, but he drove it on a 150 mile round trip and it made it just fine. It can't be that bad. But alright, here we go. So we've got our parts, and I've got some kit parts here, things you'll find in a normal rebuild kit. And what we're working on a late 70s Quadrajet. This is the later style, the M4M. The early versions are called the 4MV, 4MC, but this is a M4M modified, as I call them. And you know these because the front end is specifically different on these. Usually has a charcoal canister and connection, and also has this little spot here, which is normally filled by a little plug. But in different applications, these are used for different things, but you'll know which one you got. The early versions don't have that. They're very squared off. So, in this particular, for those of you who are curious, this carburetor is a number 17059-228. What that decodes to, that is 17 is a later series after 1975. That's 1705, that's what that means. 9, that means that was made in 1979. It's for a 1979 vehicle. 2 is Chevrolet. The second 2 is a Federal Carb, and the 8 is for automatic transmission application. If the last digit is even, it's for an automatic. If it's odd, like 1, 3, 5, 7, something like that, it's for a manual transmission. And then of course they have a date code of 1639 1639. That means this carburetor was built, cast on the 163rd day of 1979, roughly about halfway through the year. So that's what we're working on. And after I take a sip of my favorite soft drink, we're going to get started. This also, I want to mention, I've had a couple people ask about this also. This carburetor is an adjustable part throttle carburetor. When you have it apart, this is where your power piston goes right here. And you got a little screw thing here. Now, I know this is a lot later than I probably should have done this on a disassembly video, but don't ever take this out because there's nothing under it that has to be cleaned. What this simply establishes a stop for the power piston, and if you look at it, you'll understand how that works. The power piston, which is this, you see that little peg sticking out of the power piston, it interacts with this little screw in here, and it determines how low in the jets that these metering rods go, these primary rods. So that's what that's about. And you can adjust this. It's called adjustable part throttle. And you know, we might do another video on that, but we're not going to get into it here. We're just simply rebuilding this one. So I did not take it out. I did not adjust it. I haven't done nothing with it because they're set at the factory for factory applications. Okay, the first thing I do when I'm rebuilding Quadrajet, the first thing I put back in it is I put in the jets. You got 2 jets. Make sure you're in frame here. 2 jets. These are your jets right here. There's one. Oh no, I can't find the other one. Ah! No, here it is. 2 little brass jets. And they go right down in here. You see those 2 holes right here? All you do is you take a good flat blade screwdriver, and what I usually try to do is I just kind of pitch them in there, and you can take your screwdriver and kind of work them around to where they need to go. And be careful with this. I just barely put my fingers rest on this screwdriver and get them started, because like I said, these jets being brass, you know, you can strip them if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. You can strip them out. So if you're a person that's not prone to paying attention to what you're doing, you need to pay attention on this. You need to gather all your resources of attention paying and use it on this project. Alright, so I'm putting a second jet in here. All I'm doing, I just got it started, and you can tell right away when they don't start right. So I never had one that stripped though. And they need to be snug, but you know, I've never seen a jet loosen up in one of these Quadrajets or any other carburetors for that matter. So. Okay, so we've done that. Our jets are in, as you can see down in there, hopefully. So the second thing I usually do is I put in the check ball for the accelerator pump and the screw that goes over that. So what you do is you look in your kit. Now I've got my kit apart, so I just have all the parts laying out loose, but you look for a little check ball. See that? That's a check ball. Looks like a ball bearing. Don't lose that. And then you look for this little thing. This is a screw with a little stem on the bottom of it. Can you see that? I hope. Oops. I'll tell you what, I bet I don't buy another camera that the screen goes dark on it after a few minutes. So anyway, you got those 2 pieces, those 2. And then where that goes is, that goes right here. Follow my screwdriver. There's a little hole right here. This is where the accelerator pump itself goes, right to the adjacent to the side of it. What you do, you take that little check ball, check valve, and you just drop it down in there. That's all you do. Make sure you get it down in there. If you need to take a light and look down in it, there it is. And then you take this stem screw, as I call it, and drop it down. And I drop this stuff down in there because it's not easy. There's not much working room in there, so you kind of got to finagle with it a little bit to get it to. Sometimes I use my little sometimes I have to start over. Yeah, see, it's upside down in there. So I'll start over again. What you can do, sometimes you can take a pair of needle nose and guide it down in there a little bit better. There we go. So that's where that is, if you can see it. Right there. See it? See it? Okay. Good. Okay. Snug it up. Now that's done. Okay, now then. What we're going to do, the next thing is we're going to put the needle and seat in. This is your seat assembly. It's the new one. Goes right in here. Right there. Now pay particular attention that this uses a little small metal gasket, goes under this. So you can do it whichever way you want to. Sometimes I just drop the gasket down in here and use my whatever manipulation tool I have on hand here and position it, and then take your needle nose. Be very careful, do not stick anything down in there, in that hole down in there, because that's where your needle valve rests on. You mark that up, you're screwed. So just hold it like this and just let it sit down on there. Clear your throat if you need to, and just start it with a screwdriver. It's got two little slots on it here, and so just get it started the right way. If it don't feel right, it ain't right. So it should turn right in very easily, just like that. You should not have to force it. Okay, there it is. So alright, now this carburetor, when I took it apart, I noticed it had already been rebuilt once and it had a new float in it, but I can tell by looking at this float that its mount is misadjusted. It's way too low. So I've done a video on how to set the float height on this Quadrajet, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to adjust this and work with that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to split this off here. I'm going to do that, and I'll come back when I have that ready to go, so you don't have to sit here and watch me figure around with it. So we'll see you at that point. Okay, I changed my mind about the float thing. I think I'm going to go through that again, because I think that's a crucial step that some guys don't do, and then you start having a lot of problems. So let's do this from start to finish on this float thing. And first thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to assemble the float. And you have your float here. This is your float. You know, here, and you have a little pin. Note that which way the pin sits this way, like this. The retainer, I call it the pin. Now here's something that a lot of people that rebuild these Quadrajets, if I was a cussing man, I'd say you F-U-C-K it up, just because you don't know any better. But I don't cuss much, so we won't say that. But anyway, here's the thing that people do, and it's incorrect. You don't do this. You see on the end of this float, there's two little holes right here. You see those two little holes? I guess you can see where I'm going with this. They come over here and they say, oh, that little retainer on that needle valve there, that has to go in one of those holes right there, doesn't it? No. Do not put it in those holes right there. My brother says I'm being a smart aleck when I say things this way, but I tell him I'm just trying to be emphatic. I'm trying to emphasize this. Do not put these in these two holes right here. The way this goes is, it looks, I mean, you can fall off, but you have to be just kind of careful with what you're doing. And I don't know if the camera will even pick it up, but what you do, he's got a little wire holder there, and you just take this needle valve and you slip it around carefully, and it's aggravating sometimes because it's really precise work, especially when you can't see as good as you used to. Come on, there we go. Now, you see what I've done? I did not put that little wire retainer hanger through those holes there. That's not where it goes. It simply hangs at the center of that float, right like that. You just slip it on there, so we could fall right back off if it wanted to. Sure could. But you just simply take that and keep an eye on it, and turn this thing back up like this, and you carefully drop the needle valve down in the seat there that you just put in, and okay, you can let it fall down. It's not going to fall out because it's the way it's designed. Yeah, this float is way low. So, and this is an aggravating step, but it's a necessary step. Now, once again, if you look on your spec sheet that comes with your carburetor kit like that, that's your spec sheet. If you look your carburetor number up, and I'm not talking about the carburetor that's close to it, I'm talking about the exact carburetor number. It's 17059-228. I looked it up, and the spec for the float height is 15/32 of an inch. Now, I'm going to admit, I hated math in school, and I was never good at math. I was never good at any kind of fractions or anything like that. So it's taken me well into adulthood to be able to read a ruler correctly. So here's how this works here. This is how you read these little rulers. This comes with a kit. It's a little measuring stick. This is 1/32 over here. Okay, here's a quick and easy way to understand this, even for idiots like me. Alright, you got 1 inch and 2 inch. That's all you need. Alright, you see these little numbers up here, and I know you guys that are math whizzes are laughing at me, and I don't care, but for the dummies, me included, how to read this thing is every one of these little tiny hash marks is a 32nd. You got 32 32nds in an inch. So that means you get halfway through that inch, you're up to 16, because 16 times 2 is 32. You got 32 in 1 inch. So if your float height, like this one, has got to be 15 32nds, then you just simply count out 15 of these little notches, and you're at the one right below 16 right there, right before it. That's 15 right there. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can, but at least you can get the idea. And if you're one of these that some of them take a 3/8, some of them take a 1/2 inch. That's easy. You know what a 1/2 inch is, how to read that. And some of them take a 3/8. If it takes a 3/8, you're probably on your own, because I don't remember how to read that. But this thing has got to be 3/16. You measure it. What you do is, I've covered that on a video before, but you carefully take your finger and you press down on this end of this float down here. And I don't mean, Bubba, lean on with 50 pounds of force. I mean, just take your finger and just lightly close that needle valve. Lightly close it. That's all it takes. And then you take your little measuring stick down here and you come down 3/16 back from the end of this float, back from this end of it, this end. So you can take your measuring stick here, and that one is actually not as bad as I thought it was. It just looked like it was. It's actually right on spec. So, hey, how about that? Looks can be deceiving, so I don't have to adjust it. Good. But that's how you adjust it. So if you find one, though, if it's off, don't let it go like that. And there's proof that somebody's even rebuilt Quadrajets a good bit, you know. looks can be deceiving. I looked at that float and I said, there's no way that's right. But sure enough, it's right. Some of these are spec just to run a low float level. I don't know what the idea is behind that, but that's what they do. So we can move on then. So let's move on. The next thing I usually do is I put in you've got a little phenolic, this thing. This is basically it kind of serves some different purposes. It's mainly to keep gas in the float bowl, help keep it in not where it doesn't need to be, especially right here above the inlet. You know, gas is trying to come in, it kind of directs it down into the float bowl instead of going up, getting on the gasket and stuff. So I just drop that thing back in there like that. And if it make you happy, you can take this other black thing, this filler, and you can drop it in right there if you want to. And just take your fingers and kind of flush it up right there pretty good. Now here's another area where you can frig something up if you're not careful. And you don't want to frig something up, so you want to be careful. You're going to put in this power piston. How many minutes? Yeah, we're good. So now this thing can go in one or two ways. You know, you can have it that way, or you can have it this way, like this. First of all, you need to make sure that your little rods are in under the spring that's on this thing. But this is how it goes when you're looking, when you're facing, so you're facing the way I would normally face this carburetor and build it, from the end where the fuel goes in. But this is the way this is going to be, because you'll know you're the right way, because like I was telling you about this adjustable part throttle, this little stem thing here coming out of it, that's a real technical term, I know, but it's got to go against this adjustable part throttle screw. So it will absolutely not even fit this way, so you'll know you're right. Now, before you put that in, you got to find the power piston spring, which is in all my parts here somewhere. Left over here. Yep. Alrighty then. Okay, this is a power piston spring. There's two springs that reside in this carburetor inside of it, and these are the two springs. You see, you got one big one and one small one. Obviously the big one can't go right here, so you know that's not the one that goes right there. This is the only one that fits down in here, so it's got to go under that power piston. So make sure you drop that in there first before you put the power piston in, or it won't run right. Okay, so we get this thing ready to go back in here. And this is kind of a little ordeal in itself here, because you got to guide this power piston back down in, and then you got to play you got to go blind on these. Well, sometimes you're from this now you can see, but I've never been successful with it. It's more work. What I do is I just sit and kind of fiddle with these, like playing chopsticks or something, with these metering rods, primary rods. And when you get them positioned the right way, the whole shebang will slide down. So don't force it, man. And this is tedious. Okay, that one's okay, and that one is. That one's a little off, so let's go back with that one, and then. Come on. And see, obviously you have to put this filler in. You have to put this filler in before you do the power piston. Come on, come on. Come on, you know you want it. Ooh, that's way off. What was that one? Jeez. There we go. See, when it goes in, it goes all the way down like that. And this is another spot of contention for me, is this power piston retainer. This is this little, I'm going to have to turn this so I can see what I'm doing, but this little plastic thing here, most of the time when I've encountered these, they don't retain anymore. So what I do is, and you got to be kind of careful here, don't scrub it up, but what I like to do is I like to take my old screwdriver and take something to move some metal, and I just kind of carefully I push this in to make sure I got it in all the way. That's what he said. And then I take this and kind of emphasize more on the metal of the carburetor around the circumference of this. I put it perpendicularly, I guess that's the word you're looking for, like this. And then I'll look at it. I think that one I need to go a little bit, angle it over a little bit more. Basically what I'm doing is I'm deforming the metal a little bit around the outside of that ring where it goes in, so it will not pop out on its own. So sorry guys, but I gotta look at more of what I'm doing here. So okay, so I'll come back when I get that done, so you don't have to sit here and be bored by that. Okay, so what I did was I simply took my screwdriver and I just kind of moved some metal in around this retainer ring, just careful not to damage it. And you don't have to really whack it on the metal real hard. You just want to deform that a little bit because you don't want that popping up. You need it to stay in place, and you don't want to try to glue it or anything crazy like that. So what we got to deal with now is, and you want to do this in specific steps, we got to put this choke together because we got to have this little actuator rod that goes up to the choke plate. We got to have it in here before we start putting the gaskets and the top on and stuff like that. You can't do it after the top's on it. So okay, so anyway, what we're going to have, you got your choke housing like this. You notice this choke housing has a squared off shaft coming through it there, and you got a little piece that goes on it like this. That's how that fits. And then you got this little piece that comes down from the choke plate, comes down and it fits in like this. Now, if you think that's not fun to put together, you're going to see how fun that is. So that's what we're putting together. So we've got an important thing we have to do before that. If you turn this carburetor around, look right here. Now this is on carburetors that use a hot air choke, because on a hot air choke carb, it pulls a little bit of vacuum through this. This is a little orifice right here where the shaft goes in. It's got a little vacuum passage drilled into this. That's how your hot air choke works. I showed you in that other video that I posted recently. So it's important that you put a seal in that. So what you're going to do is you're going to look in your kit and you're going to find a little lip seal, a little black rubber lip seal, looks just like that, because that's it. And you see one side of it, you look in, it's got it's got a little space in it, and you turn it over and it's flat and solid on the outside. So you want to put this thing in so that the solid part's on the outside. So what you're going to do is you can simply insert it into this. It's nice pliable rubber, it's not hard to put in. Just make sure it's seated all the way. Get that put in there. Like that. See it there? Right there. That's where that goes. And now what we got to do the fun thing. You got to have about 3 hands to do this, but what I do on this has got to go on this way, and you got a little arm in here. You can turn this thing around that way. But this choke goes on here. It's got a little locating dowel, I guess you would call it here, a couple of them actually. And so you gotta work this thing around and jockey it around and try to get. So what I do is I kind of get it in place right here, so I can look down and take a light. Make sure you can see me here. Take a light so I can look down in this passageway right here, and you can kind of pull it back out. Till you got some clearance in it. And I know you guys are going to say, I don't know how you do that, but it's doable. So the way this thing goes in, I showed you the wrong thing a while ago, excuse me. This is a little piece that goes down in there. Don't do what I just did. I would have caught it because I'm, putting them together. But you got 2 little pieces that one goes on either end of this choke rod. This is what goes up to the plate on the air horn. This part here that's got this little short one, that goes on the top. This thing, that goes on top. That does not go in here. So please catch that. You should have caught that. You should have told me. But anyway, this only goes in one way, one direction. In here, it will not physically fit the other way, so you can't get it in there the wrong way. That's what she said. But so what I do is, it goes on. Let's see, that one has to go on like this. In fact, the little bend in it here, that has to come through it like this, and so that's how it goes on. At the top, it bends in towards the inside of the carburetor up here like this. So what I do is you have to kind of look down in here and get an idea about where this thing is gonna. You're trying to orient it. Look down in here, because like I said, this is squared off, so you kind of got to get it ready to be in position. And what I do is I take a little bit of electrical tape and put on this, because otherwise you're going to be just pulling your hair out trying to get this thing in there, because it keeps moving around too much. See, I told you guys I had to talk during this video. You talk too much. You ramble on. Why can't you make this video 2 minutes long? You gotta be crazy. It's hard to say that. I think, I love all my viewers. I'm glad they view my videos, but I think some people are just got something mental going on with them. The things they say, the ideas that they have. People are so off base about how long it actually takes to do things. Oh, if you'd have done this and done that, that video would have only taken 5 minutes to do. Yeah. Yeah, and what's funny is the main people that always say stuff like that, you ever go to their channel and look what they've done, they ain't done nothing. They ain't done no videos like this. So I don't listen to them. I don't look, I've said this before, I'm not going to take advice from people who don't do that, When you're like me and you've made 800, 700 plus videos, then if you want to give me tips about making videos, I'll listen to you and I'll take your advice probably because you know what you're doing. But if I go to your channel and you don't have nothing to show for anything, do you know what the number 0 means? That's how much attention I'm going to pay. I mean, that kind of pisses me off, and I don't mean to get in a rant in the middle of this video, but who do people think they are that they have the right? Of course you have the right to say things. That's that, but I don't understand how guys think that, especially if it's like 2 years after the fact, that they think that just them sitting there telling me something, it's going to change something. What am I going to do? Take the video down? No. So anyway, here we go. I've taped this. I've kind of hopefully I've got the angle pretty close to how it needs to be. So now I'm gonna, and this tape is, I can get this tape back out. I didn't wrap it around it real big or anything. So hopefully I'm pretty close on this. So let me see if I can finagle it in there. And it is that simple. It's in. That's all you do. So just be sure you put it in the right way and get this choke put back on here all the way, the right way, which it is, luckily. So you got a bolt, one single bolt that goes through this. I know you can't really see real good, I'm sorry, but you got one single bolt that holds this choke on. You talk too much. You provide all this useful nonsense. Useless nonsense. Where's your video about putting a timer belt on? I don't have one. I ain't done that. I just take my car to the mechanic. See, while I'm waiting on the mechanic to fix it, I come home and give you crap about your videos. I got all this time. I don't have any money because I paid out for the car repair, but that's what I do. I'm sit here and tell people how they should do things. Shut up. Alright, so now we got to dig this tape back out. So I use my little I'll tell you what, this is the best money I've ever spent on the tools, is so these little picks. I've used the crap out of these things. Yeah. Electrical tape is some sticky stuff. I don't mind putting electrical tape on things, but I sure don't like taking it back off. Okay. Now, you see how that's working? And it can't fall out. There's not enough room for it to. So, just make sure that you have it oriented before you start putting this thing back together further. That you have this properly oriented. I have to adjust my screen. I can't see what I'm looking at. Like this. You see that? This bend comes up. The choke's here. Choke assembly's here. This comes up. It goes in like that, not out. If you got it out, it's backwards. So, okay. So what do we got to do now? We've pretty much got the inside of this carburetor put together, and it's getting late, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put the top on this thing and get it ready to put the top on, and then we'll go forward from there in the next installment, probably tomorrow. But we've got the big spring here we're going to put in our accelerator pump. So this is the big spring I was telling you about, the spring that don't fit right here. It goes right under that and drop it in. That's all you do. And I've already got this assembled, but this is your this is your accelerator pump assembly. This is the cup style. Most all of them have that. And these things are pretty simple to replace. This is just a little rubber cup, and this black part and this rod here are all attached. They're all the same piece, so don't take it apart. I'll take my old one apart. How about that? You gotta watch your fingers on this. This thing will hurt you. So what you do is this little retainer up here has a spring. Has a spring. I tell you, it's getting late, but it's got a little cutout on it, and this rod here also has a cutout spot on it. So what you do is you just kind of take your fingers, and what I do is I kind of pull the spring down and get some tension off of it, and you weasel this thing around till you get that slotted spot. Pull the spring down, and then this thing will slip off there like that. You see, it just came off, and then don't let this go out of control, but hold everything together and just pull the spring up, and this thing all comes apart. But really, they don't supply these new anymore, so you mostly don't have to do that anymore. You just get the cup and this little garter spring in here. So what you do is you just take the old garter spring, and you can always tell if you got a new improved style of cup because it's blue. That's the one that will stand up to the ethanol. You just work this little garter spring out, and you get a new one. You don't have to worry about damaging this one. Pull it out, and then you just take this, start working this cup off of here. Just pry it around. And this thing's pretty tough. You know, if you have a black one, you know you got a really old one. I was telling Ken, that's old Ken, 63 in power, I was telling him that you have to use these, you get these in a rebuild kit now, because the old stuff will be eat up with that ethanol. So that's how that thing all comes apart and goes back together the same way. So here's the assembled one that I'm using, because I've already built this one up. And all you do, and this is kind of a hassle, I ain't gonna lie to you, it's a little bit of a hassle, but this thing just sits in there like this. So it doesn't hurt it to do that. So, and anyway, so you can kind of do this step however works best for you, but you're gonna have your air horn gasket that has to go on, and there's a couple things you need to pay attention to on this. This air horn gasket goes on only one way. If you put it like this, it ain't going to match up. So be sure that you put the air horn gasket on properly. And sometimes in kits you have more than one that you can select from. So what I do is I normally, if that's the case, I just put it down as close to the carburetor body casting as I can, and make sure all my holes have got a hole corresponding here, so I don't block any of these holes off, because some of them will be pretty far off, and then you'll have exactly the right one. So, but this one looks like this kit actually only came with one in it, so I didn't have a choice. Had to use it. But this kit covers a lot of these later Quadrajets. One thing you want to make sure of to avoid having problems is make sure that you work this rod through the proper location, have it already in there, because you have to take it back apart. But the way this works is right here, you have to be kind of careful with this. There's a little spot right here. This goes under the power piston assembly, and it's got a split. This gasket is split right here, so you bend the back part down or the front part down, whichever is easiest for you, and slip it under there and try not to pop things loose. So I'm just gonna go ahead and slip that one under. So when you have that done correctly, the power piston is still in place. It still springs up and down like it should. This is through where it needs to be. You have a couple locating pins right back here at the back. Get you closer in. Oops. Let me get you over here. I hope this thing is in focus. And a couple locating pins back here. Make sure you get the gasket down over those. and then that's it. And then what you do, you're ready to put the air horn on, and I usually put this accelerator pump in the last thing because it tries to push the gasket up and it's a real pain. So I kind of just get that around like that. So you need to come back as you're doing this process. You need to kind of come back and make sure you haven't popped anything loose or got anything hung up or anything like that. So everything looks pretty good here. So now I've got to turn this around because I can't do it this way. I'm not used to doing it from that direction. So, oops. And this part is tedious. Unfortunately, it's just, there's a couple things that you do on these. It's a little bit tedious, but it'll all be over soon. So what you kind of have to do is you kind of have to hold with your fingers down here. You have to hold this gasket down and hold this accelerator pump down in place so it doesn't try to interfere with stuff. And then we're just going to come down with this. And one thing mainly to do, like I said, here's where you got to have about 4 hands, but you kind of got to get this this choke rod has to go through. You have to put it through first, because that thing, if it's not in, it can the right way, and then there it can screw up your program. So, all right, I got that through, and then I kind of orient myself, and I said I had it through. Where'd you go? Get out of there. And then no, come out of there. You don't want to go in there. That's not where you go. So, alright, get your accelerator pump started. And then, hang on a second. You know, when I told you I said that thing would not fall out, it did. They don't normally, though. Alright, get in there. Yeah. Okay. It's a booby trap. Yeah, this is probably my least favorite step of this, because you gotta make sure that you got your tubes back there in the right spot. Okay. USOBU.